We were watching this first night, the sort of closing portion of the first night of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. We're still getting reaction to the news that J.D. Vance has been chosen as Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate. I believe that we've got a guest standing by from J.D. Vance's home state of Ohio. Jen.
I want to bring into the conversation Liz Walters, who is chair of the Democratic Party in Ohio. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know there's a lot going on and a lot of big news coming out of your state. So let me start with the big news from tonight. You know J.D. Vance, you've followed his record, you know about his record. What should people know who are just tuning into who this guy is?
Yeah, in the short time that J.D. Vance has been here in the political space in Ohio, I think that Ohioans have learned something that the rest of the country will learn this year. In this election, the country will see that Ohioans know, and they will know that J.D. Vance is an out-of-touch millionaire and a political shapeshifter who has been wrong for Ohio, will be wrong for our country, will lie about his record, will lie about his past, will lie about the things he believes in. And I'm interested to see how the next few days unfold.
Let me ask you about one specific piece of his record, because he has, in the past and in the present, been for an abortion ban. He's recently said it's up to the states, and we all know that means a lot of women out there will not have access to abortion care. Talk to us a little bit about his record on women's rights and abortion and his history on that issue.
Listen, what we learned during the Senate campaign in 2022 is that JD has dangerous stances about women's health and women's safety, whether it was telling women that they should stay in a violent marriage for the sake of their children, or how he referenced our victory for abortion rights in Ohio in November of last year as a gut punch. He has been unabashedly anti-abortion and unabashedly anti-woman the entire time he's been involved in politics here in Ohio. And I think Ohio voters in particular have sent a strong message, not only to J.D. Vance, but to any politician looking for our vote, that we support abortion rights. We voted to enshrine that in our Constitution by 13 points last year. And anywhere this issue is on the ballot, anywhere that candidates who oppose this issue are on the ballot, voters have something to say to them.
One of the things we've also been talking about this evening is just his evolution. I mean, he called himself a never-Trumper. He had many, many negative things to say about Donald Trump in the past. What do you attribute his evolution to? Is that actually what he believes? Is it ambition? What led to this point?
Evolution is a tasteful way to say it. I think he is a ruthlessly ambitious politician who will say and do whatever he has to get ahead. It's what we saw all through 2022. And frankly, his record so far as a U.S. Senator leaves us very little to go on. For most of the 18 months he's been in office, he's been auditioning for this job. So I think that as the campaign unfolds, we're going to see a really clear contrast between Vice President Biden and Vice President Harris and the record that they have to run on, and J.D. Vance's 18 months of nothing in the U.S. Senate, where he's done little to nothing to support the people of Ohio who sent him there to be their advocate.
Liz, if you don't mind if I jump in, sorry to jump into your interview, Jen. It's Rachel Maddow here in New York. Liz, thanks very much for being with us. I wanted to ask you, you said at the outset that he's a shapeshifter. And obviously he hasn't been a United States Senator for very long. He hasn't been a public figure for very long, other than as a person who wrote a very well-received autobiography. When you describe him as a shapeshifter, do you mean that Ohio voters sort of didn't get what they were expecting when they got him, that he campaigned or had a public image that was different than what people realized they were getting once he was in office?
That's completely right. I think whether it was, as you noted, he's very famous for this book about Appalachia, and in Appalachia, Ohio, they are still waiting for JD to be their advocate, to do any of the things that he promised to make their lives better. He's done far more for Silicon Valley than he has for the people of Appalachia, Ohio. Or whether it's his erasure of his never Trump background, or the way he's now conveniently trying to reshape his stance on abortion. He's not honest, he's not sincere, and he's continued to try to remake himself to whatever's convenient or politically expedient to serve his ambition.
Liz Walters, you have a big job ahead of you, a big Senate race with Senator Sherrod Brown. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, hearing the home state perspective on him. I mean, Ohio, we've all been in this business long enough that we've seen Ohio go from a very purple state to a very red state. Sherrod Brown certainly has been the exception. Very popular as home state, has a good chance, hopefully, of holding on to his seat. I think the Democrats think that they've got a chance that he can hold on to it. But to see J.D. Vance ride to the Senate on the strength of that autobiography that he wrote, the strength of that book that he wrote, and then essentially be Peter Thiel's pet senator once he got there, to hear the state party chair there say, yeah, he's basically just been working for Silicon Valley ever since he got here. He hasn't done anything for the people who he wrote this moving book about in terms of his own background. I mean, that's very hard to run from. That's going to stick to him, I think.
Here's some